Okay, welcome everyone to All About Vialon webinar, which we provide periodically, once a month, sometimes twice a month. So today is our second webinar for February, and the topic that we'd like to talk about is color sensors. So let's start. Let's look at our agenda. And we have a lot of questions we'd like to answer today. The first question would be how to color your sensors. And of course, we'll talk about why you would ever need to color your sensors, right? About the value to your business. Then we'll see where exactly you can apply the colored sensors. For example, in the beginning, we'll talk about presenting the colored sensors in unit tooltip and additional menu. And then we'll talk about presenting these sensors in monitoring option that's called sensor state. Then we'll also see how the colored sensors can be valuable by using them in unit icons. Okay, and in the end, we'll also have a look at colored unit tracks. So again, the tracks will be colored according to their color of your sensor. So let's go to the first question. First, we would like to show you certain screenshots that will give you an overall idea of how you can color your sensors and where exactly you can use them. And then, of course, we'll go to the platform and see how you can practically set up their account and the unit to be able to use these features. Okay, so first, of course, you're looking at that screenshot, and the main answer to the question how to color your sensors would be their change in their unit properties right inside of the sensor properties. You'll find an advanced feature that is called intervals and colors. And here you see certain screenshots that show you how you can decide which color should correspond to which value of your sensor. Then you can add some text notes. But let's also think about overall idea of coloring sensors. Why would you ever want to do that? Well, first, of course, you want your clients to benefit from colored sensors in such situations when the value of that sensor is very important, critically important. Let's think about the battery value. When the battery goes low, that means that the device is about to go offline, and that will be a troubled device. The battery should be replaced probably, or probably the battery goes low because something is wrong with the installation. The device used to be wired, and then someone broke their installation, and it's not wired, but the backup battery is still there. But it goes lower and lower and lower, so of course we have the notifications. But imagine you have a fleet, like a large fleet of 100 units, and one dispatcher looking at 100 units. He will probably get multiple notifications and then forget about one of the devices. The color sensors would help him to easily find the troubled devices. And also, of course, these colored sensors with the colors like red, orange, so such color that associates with abnormal state of the sensor will help you to quickly find the troubled devices. And what is most important, it will help your end users, the dispatchers, to do that. Hope I answered the question about the value of that feature, and we'll particularly talk about their intervals and color settings on how exactly you can use this feature once we switch to the platform interface. So now when you have some sensors with the right setup, you can make them visible in additional menu. And remember, when you hover your mouse on the unit, you also have a tooltip with most likely the same information as in additional menu. So what you see on the screenshot is that some sensors some sensor values are not black, but they have different colors, either green or orange. and that means that we applied intervals and color settings to them, and then decide to present them with colors in additional menu and unit tooltip. Okay. Again, dispatchers can easily find those sensors that look to be abnormal. And now we are trying to figure out how you will benefit from using colored sensors in monitoring option that is called sensor state. So here on the screenshot, that sensor state icon is highlighted in red frame. As you can see, there are three square boxes, and they are colored in green. This is because for these three units, the battery value is normal. If the battery goes low, then the colors will be changing to either orange or red or whatever other colors that you decide to specify. So here in the tooltip, you also can see the current value of the battery, and specifically this vehicle battery equals 13.9 voltages, and it relates for this DEMA 3 unit. So when I was making that screenshot, I hovered my mouse over their checkbox that relates to DEMA 3 unit. So here I'd like to first of all remind you that instead of seeing the unit icons on the map, you can see the icons that correspond to the motion state of the unit. So let's pay attention to the right part of the screen where their unit icons are colored according to the motion state. It should be pretty intuitive that when we see the red color, that means that the unit is parked. So our GNX binary unit and Phoenix food truck are parked, while school bus is moving, and this is why it's colored green. And we also add their icons that are different in shape. So for parked, we add squares, and for moving, we add arrows. Okay. So this is nothing to do with the colored sensors. Now, please pay attention to the left screenshot, where the same icons are colored not according to the motion state, but according to the sensor value. So GNX binary unit is colored in green because it's available right now and sending us some status with value 1, and in the unit properties of that sensor we decide to use that scale, that intervals and color settings that tell, okay, when I'm available, let's use green color. When I'm not available, let's use red color. So here school bus is moving, and even though it's moving, we're still coloring it in red, not in green, because it's not available. That corresponds to the sensor color. Again, it can be valuable for dispatchers easily identify which vehicles are available, which one are not available, so that they can distribute the tasks accordingly. And switching to the next screenshot, colored sensors and colored unit tracks. So this is an easy example that shows you the track of their vehicle that is colored according to their value of the sensor. So here we see if the value of the sensor is less than 4, then the color is green. When it's greater than 4, the color is red. Okay, and here, of course, you should be able to define, for example, availability of the unit, or maybe it will be some abnormal value of the temperature in the refrigerator, and then you'll see for how long the temperature was abnormal. For example, this red interval means that the temperature was abnormal, and here you see when that accident happened and when it was finished, right? So this is how the color sensors can be used. And of course, we are learning from the practice. So let me switch to the platform account and show you from the very beginning how we set up the sensor interval and colors properties. So this is my account with several devices on the work list area, and let's go to one of these unit properties. Let's open the properties of school bus 2. And then we should go to the sensors and then select the sensor with which we want to work, or like which sensor we want to, which sensor properties we want to modify and add intervals and colors. For example, let's look at the sensor that I called status. Okay, and let's open its properties. And let's pay attention to intervals and color settings. So this is pretty artificial setup, but the most important right now is to understand how exactly it works. So it's not a real sensor. I will tell you from the beginning, it's not a real sensor. It's based on the speed parameter. And I just decided, okay, when my speed is greater than 4, that means that this vehicle is not available. And whenever the speed is less than 4, their vehicle is available. So how would I do it all from scratch? This cross button allows me to reset all the settings. So I click this. And in order to add any interval to that scale, you just need to click on the scale one time. And then here you need to identify that interval. So if the speed from 0 to 4 is means that the vehicle is available, then always select the green color. Okay, you can decide to select some other color, it's totally up to you. And we click OK. You may ask me, why don't I add the text? You certainly can add the text and also add the information that these intervals, these values means that the vehicle is available. Then what do we have left? Any interval of, any value that is greater than 4 will be highlighted and colored in black. Do we want to change it? Probably yes. Probably we want to make it some other color, so I just make one click on the scale, open the settings, and tell the system that this interval means that the vehicle is not available. Right, so I also want to change the color. So I select a red color, and I don't have to specify that the highest speed possible is 300 miles per hour. No, you can leave it blank, and that's absolutely fine. That means that whatever value greater than 4 is reported by the device, the system will indicate it as not available status. So I save it again, and click OK. And now I have one sensor that I set up. I know it was previously set up, but at least one sensor that can be colored in the additional menu and unit tooltip. So let's start with item number 1, additional menu and unit tooltip. Let me remind you what it is. The tooltips are shown when you hover your mouse over the unit. So all these little screens that are popping up, they are called tooltips. Additional menu should be opened manually for each unit if necessary. And you can open additional menu by clicking on the unit icon. Okay. Or if you click on it one more time, you close it. So open it, close it. Now, how can I color the sensors if the sensors are not visible here at all? And I did it on purpose because I want to make sure that you know what to do if you don't see the sensors that you set up in additional menu or in the tooltip. And here what you would need to do, you go to the upper right corner, click on the username, go to the user settings, and you scroll down a little bit to open the section that is called Show Additional Information about the unit. 2 columns, Units Tooltip and Work List or Additional Menu. Okay. Then you find the sensor values, which are right here, and you decide where do you want to show the sensor values. In the tooltip in the work list, or we also call it additional menu, or in both sections. Let's decide to show it in both sections. Do you think that these sensors will be colored by default or they will not? Basically, the default setting will not show the color. So this setting is disabled by default. It's called multicolor sensors in units tooltip and belongs to the unit visualization section. So since it's disabled by default, I want to click OK, and I want just to show you the sensor colors that look very simple. Just the name of the sensor in black and the value of the sensor in black. Do we see our sensor? Yes, we do. It's called status, and it says not available. And in the parentheses, we see the on value, because it's a digital sensor that we specified in the settings. So whenever it sends you the value greater than 4, that means not available, right? Okay, so how would I make it colored? Again, I already showed you, but now I made it disabled. Now let me activate it. So again, user settings, unit visualization, multicolor sensors in units tooltip. We click here and we decide how do we want to color the sensors. Should we color the sensor value only, or should we also color the name of the sensor? So sensor value only, click OK. See the result. The values are colored, right? The sensor name is not. Going again to the user settings and deciding to color both name and value, and this is how it looks. Okay. So I hope you'll find this feature valuable. Okay. As you can see, most of my units have this colored sensors set up, and this is because I worked with intervals and color settings that we were just reviewing. Let me show you one more sensor settings. We go to the sensors and we go to battery. So battery, intervals and colors. Any value of the battery lower than 3 is red. Value from 3 to 35 is yellow. And value greater than 35% is green. Of course, you're the one who decides what the intervals and colors should be, but just showing you another example. Okay, let's move forward and let's learn about sensor state icon. We're talking about monitoring options. We're talking about those monitoring options, those columns that you see next to the device. So we see here ability to watch all selected units on map, seeing the motion state, data accuracy, quick track, additional menu with certain options. But what else we can do? We can enable the column that is, or the monitoring option that is called sensor state. How I do that? I click on the 3 vertical dots on upper right corner, and then I select sensor state. And I want to select it in the first column because I want to be sure it's visible right away. It's not added to additional menu right here. Okay, so first column it is, clicking, and then right away I'm able to see the status of my units. Moreover, I can sort the units by the sensor state by clicking on the sensor state icon. So I click once and I see those units that are available. Imagine how it can be valuable for your dispatcher, or in case like there is some abnormal temperature, or you need to find those drivers that are available, or there's very low battery on certain devices and they need to be replaced. So just clicking this icon and you see the units that you are looking for on the top. Remember that this is not a real sensor, right? We based it on the speed. I based it on the speed parameter. This is why it's frequently changing, because units are changing their speed. Whenever it goes greater than 4, we see that the red status appears. So hope you understand that part. And even so that we saw that their visibility of their sensor color was almost automatic, right? We just added the sensor state icon, and right away we are able to see this status for all of the units. In fact, you would need to do a little bit more steps in order to make that feature available for your fleet. So first step that you would need to do is in the unit properties, you open the unit properties, and then you open Advanced tab, and then you scroll down and find usage of sensor colors in the monitoring panel. So right here, you select which sensor you want to use, and that should be the choice of one sensor only, okay? So please don't try to use, don't try to select two sensors here. You need to give a priority to one. And usually you give the priority to one sensor and make it similar for all units so that you can benefit from this sort out option. Because if you decide to make their status sensor available for school bus 1 and then battery sensor for GNX binary, then it would make a lot of sense. Your dispatcher can be even confused what sensor value he is looking for in this icon. So this is done, then you save it, and it's done for one unit. Remember our previous training on February about import and export feature? So when you're exporting and then importing their unit properties, you have the option to export and import advanced properties. So we just looked at Advanced tab, so that property is advanced property and it can be copied to all other units. Now, I think everything should be clear about the sensor state, and I'd like to switch to the next option, which will tell you about how we can use colored sensors in the unit icons. So we go to the upper right corner, going to user settings, and we scroll down a little bit to the unit visualization section. Here we have an option, replace unit icons with motion state signs. By default, it's disabled. Okay, so by default, you're seeing the unit icons like this, right? Some customers, some clients find it very valuable to see their icons on the work panel. So the icons on the work panel still stay there. But on the map, instead of seeing the icons, they want to see the motion state signs. Okay. And as I already explained to you on the screenshot, usually the colors telling you the following. The red color means that the unit is parked, and the green color means that the unit is moving. For example, school bus 1, it's moving, right? But here we also see it's available. I want to see school bus 2 then. Okay, so going to school bus 2. Okay, so it is moving, but here we see it's not available, right? So how would we change it? How would we change the green color to red? Let's also start watching that unit so that the map is always centered on it. Okay. In order to change it, you go to the unit properties, Advanced tab, and then on motion state signs, you select that sensor of availability. So once you select the sensor, this icon will not be green anymore because the current status of school bus 2, Massachusetts, is not available. So this is why this arrow, even so it shows us that it's moving, but it also shows us that it's not available. How is it helpful? Let's have a look at multiple units that Let's, for example, look at these two units that are located in Nevada. You see, both of them are moving, but we also can quickly make a decision which driver should be involved in some additional work. This driver of our school bus 1 is available. This is why we need to give him another task, while that one is moving, but it's not available. Okay. And this is not the part of the presentation, but I'd also like to show you the tool that is called the nearest unit. So I click this tools button, click on nearest unit, and let's search for some address in Las Vegas. Okay. So let's see which units are closest to that location. So we see that school bus 1 is the closest, but it's not available. The same relates to school bus 2. So at this moment, it's not available, but then the next one, school bus in Florida, is available. So probably we should send order to him. Of course, we won't because it's too far away from Vegas. And still, so this is the idea for the dispatchers. This tool can be very helpful. The units are sorted out by the closest to that address, and plus we can see one of them census state. The last but not the least is to show the track. So by default, you will see that the track can be run by trips. You can also decide to run to execute the track with single color or with certain speed intervals. But here's the option to execute the track that will have the colors corresponding to the sensor value. To which sensor value? Again, you go to the unit properties, you go to advanced tab, and right here, track colors, you define by which color you want to execute the track. So if we execute it by status, I click OK. And then let's run the track for today. And here we can see those intervals that correspond to the color sensors. Sorry, we forgot to switch off that option. So let me center the map again on the track. And imagine again it's a low temperature, and you need to define when the temperature of the refrigerator starts to be abnormal. So here you will be able to quickly identify that interval of the movement of the vehicle with very low temperature or very high temperature. It depends on what is considered to be abnormal. This was again the training for colored sensors. Thank you for your attention and have a nice day.